Hello and welcome to Love, Dating, and Relationships for Spiritual Women. I'm your host, Julie Grimm, and today it's just me. So today I really wanted to take time to explain why I created this video series, what my intention was, and just give you guys a little bit more background about myself more personally. So I created this series to support spiritual women, both in navigating the dating world, like myself at this moment, but then also to come to a greater understanding of love and what that means in intimate partnership and relationships. So, if we were to look at dating from a purely physical, material perspective, we might say, okay, neurons fire, we smell different pheromones, we have chemistry or like this physical attraction to people, and that's all that it is. And so much advice that I've come across deals with that perspective. And I find that not only is it very narrow-minded, it can also be quite disempowering for us as spiritual beings living in the physical. And so instead, engaging with questions like, why do we date? Why do we fall in love? Why do we stay in relationships, and why don't relationships work out sometimes? What's really going on when I'm in conflict with my partner, or what's really going on when I'm unable to manifest the person that I desire, or the type of people that I truly desire being in relationship with. When we start to ask those questions and we deal with it from a spiritual vantage, we're able to see a lot more and actually heal and move through and become empowered through those obstacles or difficulties that we might encounter. It's funny because I'm a healer and I work as a spiritual guide, but I'm not a dating expert or love coach or anything like that. But anybody who knows me knows that I love talking about love, and I love talking about dating and romance. There's something about it that just makes me come alive. And many of you can probably relate that the gifts that we're given, the spiritual gifts that we're given, our passion, our purpose, those things are often linked to what we are most drawn to and what we're most drawn to talk about and teach about and research. So, I've been asking myself pretty consistently, what is my purpose? And I guess to some degree, dating relationships is absolutely part of my purpose. And it's interesting to say that because I have struggled so much in my own dating and relationship life. So it's funny to claim that as part of my purpose. But you'll find in some of my interviews that actually some of these coaches that I'm interviewing have also struggled greatly. And I would say part of that struggle helps us to not only test us about how serious are we, how committed are we to whatever it is we've said we desire, test our mettle, but also to help us see more deeply into what's at cause in those conflicts or even those breakthroughs. And so, in my show, what I really hope to impart to you, listener, is that you can start to see the deeper energetics at play. I study in a metaphysical 3,000-year-old spiritual lineage, and one of those hermetic principles is that all is energy, all is mind, and all is vibration. So if we were to simply come at dating from the perspective of it's first generated in the mind, and then that is then being rippled out into the world around us at a certain frequency or vibration that then is attracting its likeness on the spiritual plane and its opposite on the physical plane, we might begin to draw deeper understandings about where we're holding ourselves back and actually where we can put the most emphasis in our life to have the biggest breakthrough without years and years and years of running in circles or chasing our own tail. But if we're able to really say, oh, this is where that's coming from, then we can direct our energy there, focus our healing efforts there, maybe receive tune-ups, activations, initiations, which all serve to heighten our vibration, which then in turn help us to see with greater awareness what's going on, and obviously draw things to us from a higher vibration as well. We're able to make breakthrough in a much more timely manner than, reading Cosmopolitan magazine and listening to this advice that doesn't really serve us, that doesn't serve our eternal nature, it doesn't serve divinity, and it doesn't serve the truth of who and what we are. I know that, nowadays there's actually, I think, a huge ramp up in dating advice that really does serve us. And so I'm just contributing to that pool that is ever growing. But certainly when I was growing up, what I experienced had nothing had nothing to do with the truth, and was often extremely misleading, very misinformed, and caused me to engage in behaviors that really didn't serve myself, and then certainly didn't serve my dating life. So let's take a look at some of that a little bit more closely. I definitely so I'm still dating now, and I relate very closely to anxious attachment theory, which is that if I feel like somebody's pulling away, I get very anxious and I want to grip and hold on to that relationship. And so oftentimes anxious attachments will actually draw to them avoidance, who are sort of like the opposite end of that magnetic. So they pull, and then anxious chase. But another pattern of mine, which I had for quite a long time until really going through some deep healing and transformation of my own within my own spiritual path, was that because I felt so uncomfortable dating people that I really desired, because I was so anxious about that attachment, I instead went for people who I didn't really desire that much. And, love, through the teachings of the modern mystery school, it's really a force. It's not even really a feeling, it's a force of God, of truth, of divinity. And that force flows into life and it creates. And typically, when you're in relationship, that love ideally is going to flow from one person to the next and feed into that relationship as an amplification force. And so, when you have two people who are in a committed relationship, it basically forms an eternity loop of this reciprocated and reciprocal force of love. But when you're in a non-committed relationship, or when somebody's basically not providing their own force of love into the relationship because of fears, because maybe they're not that interested, they're not that invested, whatever the reasons might be, that infinity loop is broken and that amplification process can't happen. Oftentimes in love, we approach love from a feeling of scarcity, either that we're not worthy or our partner might not be worthy, or that there's not enough. We might even approach the dating scene from scarcity. There's not enough good men. There's not enough of the type of people I want, or whatever the phrase might be. But love, actually, when it flows in that magnetic way, is amplification. It's a source of true abundance in our life, blessings that then we can receive, and blessings that our partner can receive, and ultimately blessings that the world around us can receive. So it has this huge possibility to create massive change in our world simply from having more people who are in loving, committed relationships. And of course, that starts with loving ourselves, which is how my journey really started, was discovering places where I didn't feel worthy, where I was approaching relationships from a sense of lack, and how that was sabotaging this real loving abundance that desired to be part of my life as I desired it to be part of my life, but that I was, for whatever reason, blocking. So in many of my interviews, we talk about this. We touch on the power of being a woman, being in your feminine energy, which is extremely magnetic and which is inherently worthy. I often think about the feminine energy like the moon. The sun, we see that the sun has worth because of all that it does for us. It allows our crops to grow and allows us the abundance of food, and it warms us. The moon, though, of the reflection of the sun, it's just pure beauty. It lights up the sky, and some might even argue it doesn't serve a real purpose. I liken that maybe to science and art. Science, it's clear, it's delivering us actionable, tangible things, whereas art, which is hugely valuable, I would argue, some people, it's very easy to question, why? What's the value? What's the purpose? And the moon and femininity are all very similar in that they serve a huge purpose. Beauty alone is elevating our souls and elevating our frequency by creating beauty, by being around beauty. And the moon is a picture of beauty. Its value is inherent. So when we question the moon's value, when we question the value of women, when we question our own value, what we're really saying is, I don't believe in my inherent worth. I believe that I have to consciously and consistently display my worth outwardly in order to have a life that I desire, a partner that I desire, or whatever it might be in your life. And I saw that in myself, and I see that in many, many people. So, if we were to look at dating advice, quote unquote, from the perspective of a spiritual teacher, it would be A, raise your vibration, and B, come from a state of abundance. And that state of abundance can only be accessed through acknowledgement of your inherent worth. If you are coming at anything in your life, a job, a relationship, buying a house, buying groceries from yourself, from a place of I'm not good enough, you're going to be buying the top ramen and the chips. You are not going to be investing in food that is really healthy for you. You're not going to be investing in a lifestyle that's healthy for you. And you're not going to be investing in a relationship that's really serving you, because you're basically undercutting yourself from the get-go. And, ultimately, it's okay if that's where you're at. And in some respects, many of us are at that place, but in different levels and layers, because unworthiness and lack is at the core of almost all human operations. Unfortunately, that's the state of the world that we live in today. But so to take ownership of your piece of that, and to have that divine rebellion against it, and to have the courage to say, no, I am worthy, regardless of what I do or what I display or how thin I am or how pretty I am or whatever it might be. To do that is then to start to really manifest from a place of abundance. And when we do that in conjunction with deeper healing and with raising our vibration through practices, or whatever you might be involved in, meditation, prayer, and then all the different healings and initiations that I offer, you're able to make huge breakthroughs, not just in your dating life, but in all aspects of your life, and to really create that amplification that I was talking about. And that amplification could be joy that now you've created for yourself and you spread to others. It could be quite literally wealth that you create for yourself, and then you spend, when you reinvest, you spend on your chiropractor, you spend on your craniosacral, you spend on your your jewelry, your handbags, whatever it is, your beauty, right? But you're reinvesting that money into society. You're actually uplifting society through that abundance. And then in relationships, obviously, through that reciprocated love. So I guess I'll probably share another time, but that was just a really quick download about myself, about why I'm so passionate about this work, and a little bit more about my own struggles and how I came to find it. And so I really hope that it has been beneficial for some of you who tuned in. Thank you so much, and more to come. So much love to you all.